Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to talk about the week that was in pro wrestling, which for today is going to include Monday Night Raw, NWA Power, AEW Dynamite, and TNA Wrestling. Now, not going to cover SmackDown, Collision, or Rampage because I had previous engagements, so that's why there was no video Friday, because then it would just be broken up into twos and it would be really disjointed. So, just going to cover everything here today, starting with Monday Night Raw. Start off with a video recap of Backlash, which was very entertaining. Then we move into the arena. We see Judgment Day on the microphone. Damian Priest pointing out the love Jey Uso's getting, but saying that didn't matter, I'm still the World Heavyweight Champion. And guys, I just want to say what went down at Backlash, I want to apologize for. I lost my cool, but I want to thank you for helping me, and I appreciate you guys. So they all come in for a big old hug. Then Priest gives Finn Balor the microphone, saying, now with Drew McIntyre not cleared for King of the Ring, I get a first round bye. So now we're going to go in the back and celebrate. However, before they can do that, out comes Raw General Manager Adam Pearce, saying, oh, what makes you think you're getting a first round bye? Just because Drew isn't cleared doesn't mean you're just going to get an automatic bid. Instead, I found a very worthy replacement. Uso! It's Jey Uso. So we get to our first match of the King of the Ring tournament as Finn Balor takes on Jey Uso. And honestly, this was a pretty dang good match. A lot of really good back and forth. No Judgment Day out there, which is very, very interesting. However, someone that did try to interfere off of us, not interfere, but he did make a distraction as Jey Uso was going for an Uso splash. It's Drew McIntyre. And as he's distracted, Finn Balor goes for a roll-up. Not only goes for a 2 count. Hits a big old sling blade. But then Jey gets back up. Hits a spear for the 1, 2, 3. And your winner. Moving on to the next round. It's Jey Uso. Now Drew comes in from the crowd. He's in the ring. And Jey just bails out. So it does look like we're getting a kind of Jey versus Drew McIntyre feud in the near future. I'd be cool with that. And I'm also kind of cool with this this move to the first round for the King of the Ring. Next up, we got a hype video for our main event, which is going to be Gunther versus Sheamus. Ooh, I can't wait to talk about that one. That one is going to be fun. So, then we get Drew McIntyre. He's kind of backstage with Adam Pearce. Pearce says, look, the only reason that you're out of King of the Ring is that last week you said your arm was hurt. And then Drew is like, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't really care about my arm. I would have been in that King of the Ring. I would have won that match. And he tells Adam Pearce to go screw himself. Gets in his car. Drives off. Then who comes rolling in? It's CM Punk. He walks up to Adam Pearce saying, my apologies for being a little late. I was locked in WWE HQ over the weekend. Now, I'm going to go over why this is kind of funny. So, he wasn't at Backlash in France. Instead, he was a part of the pre-show, which was in Stamford, Connecticut, which was filmed at the WWE HQ. Then he went to go change after the pre-show, in which it was, I guess it was kind of late at night. Everyone else left, so he got locked in the HQ. Which, honestly, that's kind of hilarious. Anyway. He goes up to Adam Pearce. He pretty much says, look, I'm just looking to fight Drew. Where the heck is he? Adam Pearce says, oh, he just drove off. You literally just missed him. Punk says, yeah, oh, really? Alright. So here's what I'm going to do. We follow him up out to the ring. His music hits. People pop. Then he gets in the ring. He pretty much says, look, obviously, me and Drew have some business to take care of. But he just left. And so, So, I'm going to hold this show hostage now. And we're going to wait for Drew to come back. Then he just kind of recaps the story between Drew and himself. Which is... Then he finishes up, So, he did postpone my WrestleMania plans, but I was on commentary. And for months, I tuned into Drew to see him run his mouth. And now he's going to pay for this. He picked a fight with a pitiless man on the roster. He obviously hates me. All he does is talk about me. Drew, do you really hate me? Or do you hate yourself? There's consequences for your actions. And next time, I'm going to break you. One of the things that you fear, it's me. That was the most pointless, rambling promo I've ever heard from this guy. Like, he was trying to both be toe the company line, but also be himself. Like, it didn't work. Now, am I ready for a Drew Punk match? Absolutely, when he's healthy. But for now, let's see what we got. So next up, we go backstage for a Ricochet promo interview, saying he's very aware of what Ilya Dragunov done on NXT, but that's not going to define the legacy, it's going to define mine. And in comes Braun Strowman, in which he helped Kevin Owens, because he likes helping the little guy. So, as for Dragunov tonight, Ricochet, you go get him. So it does look like Strowman is going for more the superhero thing, other than joining the Wyatt Six, in which that's what I had him doing. But, yeah, maybe they clash for a little bit. Who knows? Next up, we got our first round matchup of the Queen of the Ring tournament. The women are having their own tournament alongside the men, as we have Io Sky taking on Natalya. And this match was really unexpectedly good. Like, both talents are really good, and it was a nice clash of styles. You had, the high-flying Io Sky against the grounded Natalya, including a nasty-looking lariat that looked like it was stiff. Like, that was rough. Anyway, after a little interference by the rest of Damage Control, Io hits the over the moonsault to pick up the win. So, Io Sky moving along in the tournament, that makes sense. And honestly, yeah, good job for both of you. That was an unexpectedly really good match. Then we get Dakota Kai on the microphone, pretty much saying, look, 2 years ago we took over Raw, and we're back to put everyone on notice. And as you'll see, Asuka will not be competing in Queen of the Ring, as she's injured. And I'm going to step in for her for the tournament. gonna get everyone a free warning. Jade and Bianca, enjoy those tag titles while you can. We're gonna take everything from you, whether you like it or not. That was a very fiery promo from Damage Control second in command. And Mouthpiece, I should also say. So, hopefully we'll get something interesting from them in the near future. We then go to an Ilya Dragunov vignette, in which, good lord, that's a way to hype up a dude. Like, that was it. And we roll right into the next King of the Ring match, as it's Ilya Dragunov making his Raw debut. Technically his main roster debut, because on the Raw after WrestleMania he did have a match, but he was still technically on NXT, so this is his official call-up. So he takes on Ricochet. And oh my goodness, the high flying in this match. Like, I don't know I don't know if they, let Ricochet off the leash for a little bit, but this was honestly very, very speed-oriented, and just, they threw everything at each other. Including near the end, Ilya hit the H-bomb, goes for the Torpedo Moscow, Ricochet with an immediate recoil, only for a 2 count. Ilya then hits another H-bomb to pick up the victory and move on in the tournament. Then Ilya Dragunov and Ricochet just shake hands in respect post-match. Man, that match was absolutely awesome. If you watch one match from Raw this week, and it ain't Gunther versus Sheamus, watch this match. Then we pull to a Sheamus interview, where he recaps getting back healthy, getting back to WWE, saying, Gunther, we obviously don't like each other. We've had bangers all over, including at Clash in the Castle and WrestleMania together. And tonight, obviously he has my number, but tonight I'm going to kick his arse. Shit, I love Sheamus. He is so underrated, dude. Next up, we got our next Queen of the Ring first round matchups, as it's Zoe Stark taking on Ivy Nile. It's definitely been a little while since I've seen Ivy Nile wrestle, but this was definitely a bit more of a grounded matchup. Not to say it wasn't exciting, but it was... It just kind of felt like a thing that happened, with Zoe Stark winning via the Z360. So, the match was fine. There was really very little heat about it, so, whatever. Then we go backstage with R-Truth, who's requesting a champion versus champion match against the Connecticut Huskies, in which he brings out the coach of that team, with R-Truth thinking the NCAA is some type of small-time wrestling promotion. Then Miz walks in, pretty much says, Truth, we can't fight the Huskies. They're not wrestlers. They're a basketball team. And Truth goes, oh, my bad. So then Miz takes Truth and the coach, pulls them off to the side. Then in comes Braun Breaker, who's talking to GM Adam Pearce, asking, why am I not in King of the Ring? What's the deal with that? So then Pearce says, alright, you know what? I got other plans for you. Let's talk about it in my office. So we definitely don't see that. Then we see most of Judgment Day in the back, except for Dom and Rhea, of course. with Priest saying, look, it's just one loss. We're good for now. But obviously, none of us are 100%. But this, you said you would be taking care of Jey Uso. Then in comes Dominic Mysterio with Carlito in tow. With Priest getting up into Carlito's face saying, I'm not going to forgive you for what you did to me at Backlash last year in Puerto Rico. Because if you remember, that's where Carlito returned to help Bad Bunny win the match against Priest. Hold on. Then Priest continues, obviously you don't have any friends here. Then Carlito comes in. Obviously you guys think you run Raw. You guys got issues with the LWO. So what do you say I join you, we take them down? And Priest is like, no, get him out of here. This is what I love about the new WWE under Triple H. They don't just ignore their own history. They include it. They build up the story for it. And that's great. I love stuff like this. Because it feels intertwined. It feels important. And it feels like a part of the bigger story going forward. So, let's see what happens with Judgment Day and Carlito going forward. We then go into our next matchup as Chad Gable takes on Bronson Reed. And, this was definitely a very, very short match, actually. With Gable looking to get advantage. With Reed being a little bit too big. Reed going for the tsunami, but Gable gets his knees up. Gable with a big old superplex, and as he's going for the pin, out comes Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn. He attacks Chad Gable. Match gets thrown out. He also attacks Bronson Reed. It's a clothesline over the top rope on Reed. Hits a couple of suplexes. Goes for the haluva kick. That gets caught up by Reed, who hits a gigantic Uranagi on both Gable and Sami Zayn. So, that's going to be interesting. So now you have Adam Pearce. He's backstage. Reed walks right into him. No, not literally, but, with Reed saying, look, I don't care about either of those two guys and their rivalry. This is obviously business to me. You want control, you go and take control. So, definitely a very interesting point made by Mr. Bronson Reed. We then get a hype video for Laya Valkyria, the other call-up from NXT for Raw. She's going to have a match a little bit later on. Then we get a promo from Gunther, who's saying to Sheamus, I'm not concerned about having bangers. I'm concerned about being the best of all time. And obviously you are no obstacle for me, as I'm going to move on for King of the Ring. And that's what I also love about the Triple H era of WWE. They make even some of the most mundane matches feel important. Heck, this is the first time in a long time that I feel like the King of the Ring feels important. And not just like, a thing that happens. So, Next, we get a very weird Becky Lynch interview in which she's sitting down with Michael Cole in the ring. And Cole brings up her outfit at the Kentucky Derby, which, why? Who cares? Then we get more wrestling-centric, questions with Becky answering, look, being champ is about representing WWE all over. and I like it. There's some newness in the air after the draft, and a lot of people want to step up and face me, and I welcome it. I'm here to make a difference. Back in the day, before the revolution, I wanted to make a difference, and now I feel the same energy in these new faces, including Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, Tiana James, and Lyra Valkyria, who is the most gifted competitor I've ever seen. But between her and I, the better woman won. I've obviously had the journey of overcoming the odds, and that doesn't end immediately. Liv Morgan comes out, interrupts, pretty much saying, look, obviously there was no mention of me by you, Miss Lynch, and I'm tired of being overlooked. I'm a Money in the Bank winner. I'm a former women's champion, former tag team champion. Last week I beat Nia Jax one-on-one, and I'm the one who took out Rhea. You're welcome. And after all that, after all I've done, I still got zero respect from you. So Becky's like, alright, obviously you're not here to just talk about your accolades. What about that title match that I owe you? How about this? We got 3 weeks away from King and Queen in the Ring. You get your match. Then Liv Morgan pops back, pretty much saying, I finally got you figured out, and what I needed was purpose. I'm taking everything Rhea loved. I'm becoming the new champion. Then out comes Damage Control, which is very, very interesting. With Dakota Kai leading the charge, pretty much saying, look at that. Liv Morgan gets that shot, but she didn't do anything to earn it. So, I'm obviously good here with letting you two fight it out. We got Queen of the Ring to look forward to. But we're out here to remind you who runs Raw. So then Damage Control surrounds the ring. They're up on the apron. Liv and Becky are back to back. Then Liv just rolls out of the ring. Damage Control jump Becky for a little bit. Then out comes the weirdest save of all time. It's Lyra Valkyrie, who makes the save and fights off Damage Control with Becky. So, definitely some strange alliances going in on Raw. We then cut backstage to a Sami Zayn interview, saying how this whole mess should have been handled weeks ago. We got personal issues with Chad Gable, professional issues with Bronson Reed, and there's only one way this should end. A triple threat match for the Intercontinental title at King and Queen of the Ring. And when the pressure's on, it's when I'm at my best. So, nice easy promo from Sami Zayn, setting up a pretty sizable triple threat. We'll see what happens there. Next up, we got our next Queen of the Ring matchup, as Dakota Kai takes on Lyra Valkyria. And this match was pretty darn good. It's definitely been a while since Dakota Kai has wrestled. And honestly, I've never seen Lyra Valkyria wrestle. So this was definitely a bit of a treat. Definitely some nice back and forth. With Lyra hitting the Nightwing, which is a great name for a finisher, to pick up the win and move on. We then cut to backstage. He's in the locker room. It's Kofi Kingston. Saying how this year was supposed to be when Woods would defend his King of the Ring title. But then Gunther took that away from him. And while Gunther moves on, I'll take him. But first, I gotta beat Rey Mysterio. And I gotta put him down. And have to win for Woods. So, Kofi Kingston putting some pretty big stakes on King of the Ring. That's awesome. And, spoiler alert, Kofi Kingston did beat Rey Mysterio at a house show, which, I know there's people who are like, oh, why couldn't this go down on TV? I'm okay with some house show getting some exciting matches like this. Some canon matches. Speaking of King of the Ring, we got our final King of the Ring first round matchup for Raw, as it's Gunther versus Sheamus. And oh my goodness, they picked up right where they left off in their last rivalry, because they beat the tar out of each other, including a 17 beats of the Bowery for Sheamus. At one point, Sheamus's leg becomes entangled in the bottom rope, and then Kaiser just attacks it. But then the ref sees it, throws Kaiser out of the match. Gunther then locks in a figure 4 leg lock, which don't see that very often from the big man. But Sheamus gets out of it, goes for a Celtic Cross, only for it to get countered, for Gunther to slip out from behind, hitting a couple of knees. Then Sheamus tries to get up, looks for a big knee strike, but his knee buckles. Gunther with a powerbomb, only for a 2, in which Gunther then locks in a half grab. Sheamus gets in the ropes. Sheamus with a Celtic Cross, only for a 2 count. Sheamus then with a Bro Kick, only for a 2, in which Gunther transitions right back into the half grab for the submission win for Gunther. And I think I do see a path where we see Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther. And if you've seen WWE NXT UK before it went out to pasture, these two had a great couple of matches. So, definitely excited to see what becomes of King of the Ring. And, interested to see what happens on WWE TV going forward. We then move right into NWA Power. And we start off with a hype video for the NWA World Title match between EC3, Thrillbilly Silas Mason. And then we actually start off with Brian Idol taking on AJ Francis. But before the bell rings, Idol, hypes up Francis as a good friend, yada yada yada. Then AJ's like, oh, I didn't need you to do that. Obviously, these people paid top dollar to see me, because you're easy to manipulate like all these people. You don't matter to me anymore. I'm the future of the NWA. You need to retire just like Nick Saban did. Local sports bashing. You can now call this show NWA J. Francis. And then Brian Idol comes back on it. You need to shut your mouth before I do it. And then AJ Francis with just a gigantic clothesline. And then it's revealed that this match is a no disqualification contest, in which they really didn't take advantage of it. Definitely some interesting moves. especially AJ Francis doing the Tennessee Whiskey, which is a knee strike, and then he kind of falls over the top rope, which I don't know. Like, it's obviously a reference for him missing a dive on SmackDown like 2 years ago. But it's very athletic. It's very cool looking. Brian Idol then fights back for a little bit. Then AJ gets a door. Misses on a spear into the door. Idol with a flatliner. A couple of super kicks. Goes for a moonsault. That gets caught into a pile driver. Only for 2. Then AJ goes outside the ring. Gets a table. Sets it up. Goes for a choke slam. That gets countered. Idol goes for an unprettier. That gets countered. Then AJ with a big old choke slam through the table to pick up the win. I'm going to say this. AJ Francis is not a bad wrestler. Like, he's not exactly on the level of, like, an AJ Styles or anything, but he's getting there. He's an athletic big man. We then go backstage for a Tom Latimer interview, which he says, there's only 2 people who I listen to. Myself and my wife, a.k.a. Camille, who is now a free agent, which is absolutely nutty. Durability put no respect on that title. NWA put no respect on this title, but that changes tonight. Where I go, the title goes, and my opponents are going to know my name, and they're going to fear it. So then we roll right into our national title match, and it's a fatal 4-way, as we got Blake Bulletproof Troop, Zion, Burchill, former Paul Burchill, and Tom Latimer. And this was a bit of a cluster, even though, you did the 1-man in, 1-man out spot to each other. Blake Troop has Burchill in the crosshairs, but that gets broken up. So then Troop has not Zion. Who is it? Tom Latimer set up for a big kick. Mr. Chris Silvio Esquire, who is Blake Troop's manager, gets up on the apron. Says, no, go for the punch. So he goes for the punch, misses. Tom Latimer with the brighter side of suffering to pick up the win and the title. So yeah, we got a new NWA national champion. Post-match, we see a little footage of Blake Troop. Looks like he's walking out with Chris Silvio, who is just berating him. And then Troop just chokes out Silvio. Then he takes his hand away. Pretty much, we're done. So it looks like Mr. Chris Silvio Esquire is going to need another charge. Going to be interesting to see who that could be. We then get a weird backstage Vampiro promo in which he pretty much says, I've given you every opportunity to take this chance. I don't know why I'm still paying attention to you. You should have taken the flowers. A reference to Natalia Markova from a week ago after her NWA women's title loss. So, speaking of the title, we now have our main event, and it's for the NWA World Heavyweight title, as EC3 defends against Thrillbilly Silas Mason. And this match was honestly kind of a hoss fight. Like, I say kind of because Silas, for a pretty good portion of the match, was manhandling EC3. Eventually, EC3 does get out of it. Hits a couple of 1%ers, but only gets a 2 count. EC3 tries to go for a big splash. That gets countered right into a big DDT. EC3 hits a couple 1%ers, goes for one more. That gets countered right into the thrill ride, only for a 2 count. EC3 with the DDT and one more 1%er to pick up the win and retain his title. I think Thrillbilly is going to get another shot at the top. Don't know if it's going to be anytime soon, but yeah, that was a heck of a way to end this special. Gonna be interested to see what NWA has for us in the future. We then move right into AEW Dynamite, where we start off with an Adam Copeland interview. Pretty much saying, I'm not feeling great after my match with Buddy Matthews. My mind obviously went into a dark place. But tonight, you guys get stopped. And tonight is obviously going to be a no DQ match. So, Adam Copeland, once again, taking on the House of Black. This time, the monster, Brody King. And, yeah, we're going to get to that one. But we start off with a little bit of a grudge match as Orange Cassidy takes on his former friend, Trent Beretta. And Orange Cassidy, almost right out of the gate, goes for an orange punch. That gets Trent, not only ducks the move, but rolls out of the ring. Orange Cassidy follows in with a big old dive. Throws him into the ring post. At one point, Trent tries to throw Orange Cassidy into the barricade. Cassidy jumps over the barricade, which that was sick. Trent then follows him up. They brawl up into the crowd a little bit, which that's always fun to see. Eventually, they do fight back to ringside. Orange Cassidy tries for a suplex. That gets countered into a backdrop back over the barricade. Trent, who then is on top of the barricade, goes for some sort of crossbody or something. But then Orange Cassidy knocks him off of the barricade. Both guys get back in the ring before the count of 10. Cassidy hits an orange punch, in which out comes Don Callis, who joins the commentary team, which, very interesting. Everyone's back up in the ring. They hit pretty much everything at each other. Trent goes for a suplex, only for it to be countered into a stun dog millionaire. But that gets countered into a DDT, which that was impressive. Trent Beretta with a couple of pile drivers and then a running knee strike. Then at either end of the ring, Trent and Orange Cassidy removes the pads from the turnbuckle, exposing the steel. Then Trent goes for the attack. Orange Cassidy moves. Trent hits into the exposed turnbuckle. Orange Cassidy with the roll-up for a victory. So what this tells me is that this feud definitely isn't over. In which I am definitely good for that. Post-match, Trent attacks Orange Cassidy from behind. And then hits a big old pile driver on the ring steps. And then hits a slingshot into the bottom of the ring frame, in which that is metal. And that shit hurts. I actually banged my knee on that once. Getting into a ring at an Impact show. And no, I'm not a wrestler, but it was a fan thing. Then Trent gets a toolbox. Orange Cassidy has a chair. They're about to go at it again. But then Don Callis gets in between the two, with Chris Statler coming out, talking Trent down, as Don Callis takes Orange Cassidy backstage. So, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting feud. Are we going to see a different side of Orange Cassidy, backed by Don Callis? I guess we'll see. So, now we get a little bit of a comedy spot as the Elite are arriving. We got a POV at the back of their rental, and they're pretty much putting down Canada, etc. They're looking for a parking space, and they're like, oh, what do we have here? Pulls into Tony Khan's parking space, because obviously he ain't using it. With, I believe it was Nicholas saying, y'all ready to go clock in? And they get out of the car. That was definitely some clever storytelling. I like little things like this. It makes me very happy. And, yeah, we'll see if the man gets some comeuppance. Then we get a very weird Jack Perry promo, in which it's from last week, after he attacked Kenny Omega, saying, is this the best you've got? You're not as bad as you think you are. And that's obviously going to be the last time you're going to hit all your moves. You're not the hero we need. The Elite doesn't need you. Neither does AEW. So, them some fighting words from Jack Perry. We then hear from Kenny Omega as he's making an announcement from his hospital bed, in which, okay, that's effective storytelling. With Kenny saying, it's been 15 years of friendship with you guys. You are like my family. But thank you for reminding me that it wasn't personal. Obviously, as the third EVP, I got things to take care of myself. So at Double or Nothing, it's going to be anarchy in the arena, as it's going to be Nicholas, Matthew, Okada, and Jack Perry taking on Team AEW, which is going to consist of one of the greatest tag teams of all time, FTR, and two other guys we're going to see at the end of the show. So definitely building up a little bit of a mystery for Anarchy in the Arena. Definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes. Next up, we got a Serena Deeb interview, and it's up on the ramp instead of in the ring. I find that to be interesting myself. It's kind of a change of scenery. And then she goes into some serious stuff. Saying that losing isn't an option, and I've finally come back after 15 months, and it's the hardest 15 months of my life. I suffered from seizures, which, yeah, that's serious stuff. Holy cow. It's been my worst experience ever. I did everything in my power to find out why I was having these, but I couldn't get an answer from doctors. And the hardest part, it's because I don't know the cause. And the thing that's always stuck with me through these times was becoming women's champion. Before she can continue, out comes Toni Storm, who says, I obviously wanted to hear from the challenger, not a charity case. So here, take these. Pulls out a lot of money and throws it at Deeb, which, the disrespect, dang. Then Deeb gets into Toni Storm's face, pretty much says, I would have hoped you would have been taking this seriously. I fought for my life. I fought for my right to be champ. And then Toni Storm, I don't give a shit. Like, simple. Then as Deeb is starting to walk around, Toni Storm goes for a cheap shot to the back of the head. deep blocks it and hits a big old strike, leaving Toni Storm laying out. So, yeah, definitely a bit more of a build for this match. It's, I think this match could easily steal the show. Like, bar none, that's going to be an awesome matchup. We then see Orange Cassidy backstage. He's in the doctor's office. He's, putting his ice pretty much all over his body. Then in walks Rocky Romero, saying, look, I'm here checking on you. And tonight I got Jay White. And Tony says if I beat him, I can pick my partners for a trios title shot. So obviously it's going to be you and me. We can either ask Minoru Suzuki, we could ask Tomohiro Ishii to come over. Oh, why don't we patch some things up with Trent, and he'll be our third. And then Cassidy kind of grabs Rocky Romero by the neck, saying, no Trent. We'll figure it out. So, yeah, definitely seems like the Trent Orange Cassidy feud isn't over. Maybe we'll see some sort of stipulation match at Double or Nothing, which I'd be down for. We then get this very weird yet compelling match as it's Mariah May taking on Harley Cameron. And I'm going to say this, Harley Cameron is improving. Like, when I first saw her, she was fine as a wrestler, but she is getting way better. And, maybe it was Mariah May helping her out too, because Mariah May is legitimately one of the best on AEW's roster. Harley with a sky high only for a 2 count. Mariah May going for a hip attack, but Saraya pulls Harley Cameron to the outside. Then Mariah May takes out Saraya, rolls both her and Cameron back in the ring. Cameron goes for a roll up, only for a 2 count. Mariah May with Mayday for the win. Post match, Saraya gets in the ring, attacks Mariah May post match. Then making the save is Mira Shirakawa, who Mariah May has teamed with in Stardom. And Mia has actually been making appearances for AEW. And they make the save, they embrace. And then Mia teases a kiss with May. Kind of pulls back, gets champagne. They celebrate in the ring. So that's definitely very comical. Gonna be interesting to see where this goes. Then we get a Pac interview saying, he's obviously very stoic, very stone-faced, saying, I'm not really concerned with Trios Gold or reuniting Death Triangle, which is a shame. I like Death Triangle. When the Bullet Club Gold interrupt, obviously our Trios champions, saying, with Jay White saying, nobody is concerned with Death Triangle. You're coming off a loss to Okada. And as someone who knows how to beat Okada, maybe I should go after Okada and add some gold to this haul. Tonight, I got Rocky Romero, and you obviously got some things to learn about winning. So, Jay White and getting inside Pac's head, we shall see what happens with the Trios titles, because AEW are getting better and making these titles feel important. Then we get a very interesting backstage promo from Malachi Black, saying on Edge about a boy living his dreams, becoming so pivotal for the industry, but he's always so fearing death. The man has enjoyed his life in the sun. but also creating a facade. I sent the man from the house to kill the facade and bring you to the brink of death so you can live again. So, yeah, I think Malachi is going to be the man to dethrone Adam Copeland, but we shall see. So now we get our Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage face to face. Swerve is out first, saying, I'm in a pissed off mood, I'm in a fighting mood. All because of this. Shows the patriarchy beat down on Swerve Strickland. He continues, I've become world champ. Everyone wants a piece of. And I would have done what you've did, Christian. And Swerve is the Connor McDavid of AEW. Alright. Nice little local sports team reference. So then he calls out Christian Cage. We get Christian Cage out along with the rest of the patriarchy. They're out on the ramp. Christian then speaks. Look at this. The world champ in the ring. And obviously no title this year. I watched the Canucks last week. It sucks and it's disgusting. But that attack was by design. And I'm willing to take something from you until I become the champion. Reigns always crash. You're not in my league. I deserve to be the world champion. And now I'm going to come down there and I'm going to take your grill. So the patriarchy come down. They're kind of still on the ramp. And then Swerve takes the mic, says, I told you I wasn't coming alone. Brian Cage, Tola Leona, and Bishop Khan come out and stand behind Swerve. Swerve then continues, man, I want you so bad. I want to beat you down right now. So why don't you come in here and get the beatdown you deserve? You got here playing politics. I worked my butt off. So you want to come take my gold? You won't. I put you in an uncomfortable position. And when you face an uncomfortable position, you quit. And before Swerve can continue, Brian Cage with a clothesline to the back of Swerve. And then Bishop Khan and Toa Leona join in, eventually hitting a big 3-man power bomb. Officials come out. They're trying to separate the embassy from Swerve. And then Brian Cage with a military press slam to the outside on Swerve. Embassy were about to set up the announce table. And they hit an open the cage through the table off of some steps. Gosh dang, that was a brutal beatdown. And I'm going to say this. While I do seem hype about it, it was kind of a thing that just happened. There was no real build-up to it. I would like to see the embassy going up to Swerve being like, oh, okay, so you got your title. Can you help us get ours? So I would like to see a little back and forth between them before, this turn. Then we cut to see the Young Bucks backstage. Patriarchy walk in on them, saying, Swerve will feel that one in the morning. Was this a bitch move? Nah. And then Cage and the Young Bucks, they shake hands. So it looks like the Young Bucks are going to be working with at least Cage and maybe a couple of heels, which I'm definitely okay by that. We then go to a Willow Nightingale interview saying, physically, I'm not all there. I'm not feeling great. But that won't beat the smile off my face. I'm ready for any challenge. And Double or Nothing, for me, is just another stop. Mercedes, are you ready? I obviously beat you last time for the Strong Women's title. I'm sorry you got hurt, but I've been on a run of a lifetime. And while you win headlines, I win in the ring. And at Double or Nothing, I'm going to win. And you better be ready for the fight of our lives. So, nice hype up promo from Willow Nightingale. Definitely going to be interesting to see Mercedes Moné in her first match in AEW, which should be interesting. Now, next up, we got a very interesting matchup between Switchblade Jay White and Rocky Asuka Romero. And these two guys have some great chemistry. I'm not 100% sure if they've had matches against each other in New Japan, but these guys, woo, they work really, really well together. They countered each other's finishers a couple of times. Rocky Romero with a recoil, which is a miss on the enziguri, and then he comes back with it, which is super awesome to look at. Rocky hits a sliced spread, only for a 2. Goes for another one, that gets countered. Jay White with a suplex into the Blade Runner for the victory. Then the Guns, that's Austin and Colton, come out, start a beatdown on Rocky post-match. But who comes out to make the save? It's Pac, which is a very interesting development. Because if you remember, Pac and Orange Cassidy had a pretty interesting rivalry back in the day. Which I think that was 2019. I think that was during the pandemic. So, actually, I think it was right before the pandemic. So, anyway, next up we see a Samoa Joe vignette in which he's training his butt off. With him pretty much saying the need to conquer, the fear of not being good enough. That's what they say about qualities of becoming a warrior. I'm not a warrior that fears. I am a warrior they fear in the first place. Like, keeping Joe... Personally, I love Samoa Joe. I'm going to be super hyped when he gets back. But for now, I think that was exactly what Joe needed to keep him in the mind's eye. Then next up, this very weird one-sided match as Chris Jericho and Big Bill take on Mojo Body and Abbott, a.k.a. Jobbers. And don't get me wrong, I like a good jobber match as much as the next guy. I don't need it to be Jericho. Anyway, Jericho starts with some arm drags and some basic stuff. Hits a toe hold, brings Big Bill in, who pretty much dominates the smaller guys, including a black hole slam, a couple of choke slams. Brings in Jericho, who hits the Judas effect to pick up the win for his team. Fine, that's fine, whatever. It was kind of a whatever match, although the jobber guys definitely deserve some praise for this. But here's where it gets a little bit more interesting, as Jericho picks up a mic from the announcer saying, "Hey, thanks guys. Pleasure coming into Edmonton." Kind of saves himself for a little bit. "Yeah, my mistakes, we're going to learn from it. I would love to just be out here to talk to you for 2 hours straight. This FTW title is for everyone here and everyone watching at home. I want to thank Big Bill. You did a great job tonight. I'm going to thank Shibata for last week. That match was awesome. I'm going to thank Hook, who we haven't seen since Dynasty. And Hook, I hope you're thinking about the lessons I taught you. Then in comes Tony Schiavone, who has been told that next week we're going to see Hook. Well, then Jericho is kind of like a little deflated. He says, alright, Hook, we can obviously come around and celebrate together. So Jericho definitely has something up his sleeve for Hook. And now we got our main event of the evening, and it's for the TNT title, and it's no disqualification as Adam Copeland takes on Brody King. And ooh boy, this was an absolute corker of a match. This was a great little matchup. Almost immediately bringing out the hardware, including Copeland getting a chair, breaking off the stabilizer, I guess, of it. Sets up the chair in the corner. It's kind of a chokes out Brody King with the chair leg. Brody King then fights out, runs Adam Copeland into the chair in the corner. Copeland with an execution, which is great. Sets up for the spear. That gets countered right into a pile driver, which that was nasty. Into a Death Valley driver on the apron. And Copeland has Brody King set up on the apron and recreates WrestleMania, I want to say it was 23, between Edge and McFoley, minus the fire, hitting a spear off the apron through the table. They get back in, Copeland with another spear to pick up the win. Post-match, Brody King attacks Adam Copeland. Then out comes Kyle O'Reilly to make the save and run off Brody King. And now this is where we go for the overrun, in which they kind of speedrun some promos. First one from Mercedes Moné, saying it's only 18 days away from my AEW debut. I'm so close to my in-ring return. I obviously thrive in the spotlight, and I'm only getting started. And yes, Willow, I'm ready for Double or Nothing. You took time away from me. You took a year off of my career. Will I be at my best? You're damn right I will be. Willow, yes, you're on the run of your career, but that comes with an asterisk. I'm going to take that title and smile at Double or Nothing. Because Moné changes everything. Nice, good, fired up promo from Mercedes. I am hyped to see her in the ring. We then go backstage for an Adam Copeland interview, saying he feels relieved to get by Brody King. That dude is bad. Then in comes Kyle O'Reilly, who's saying, look, I got a favor to ask of you. Obviously, you got the Cope Open. So why don't we do it on Saturday? And then Adam Copeland's like, is that why you came to help me? To get a title match? Well played. You got it. So, yeah, we're getting Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Copeland. There's a match I never thought I'd see. Then we get an Elite promo. They're going down to the ring with Matthew pretty much saying, look, we asked the network for an overrun. First on the agenda, Okada has a note for Kenny. Okada gets on the microphone and says, hey, Kenny, Best Mount Machine says, get well soon. Okada's... they're doing so well with that heel Okada. I love it. Then he passes the mic back to Matthew, who says, Tony Khan, I know you're watching. You're the best boss I've ever worked for. And you've helped me make AEW a better place. Kenny, last week, you ended a friendship. And that's why we had to take you out. FTR hates us. And at Anarchy in the Arena, you're getting a beatdown of a lifetime. Good luck finding partners. This brings out FTR on the ring, on the stage, with them saying, look, it wasn't easy finding partners, but we found them now. As out first, out comes Eddie Kingston, which was a big old surprise. Next man out, to round out the team, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. What? Good to see Danielson back in action, especially after the scary moment with Will Ospreay. Team AEW comes in, they get in the ring, they get in the faces of the Elite, with Nicholas trying to defuse the situation saying, oh, you wouldn't hit the chance, would you? And they just start fighting. Which, nice little show-ending brawl. That was definitely a very interesting episode of AEW Dynamite. Definitely some ups and downs, but overall, very entertaining. And now we finish up, and I promise this is it, with TNA Wrestling, as we see an Under Siege recap. We then go to the ring for a System Championship celebration, in which they have the Albany Fire cheerleaders going. They then play, with Moose starting out, feast your eyes on the greatest TNA faction of all time. Each member has a championship. You shouldn't be surprised. We have so many accolades in the ring right now, and the System runs on gold. We are an absolute dynasty. I've played with the greatest teams of all time, on some great teams in the NFL. This is one of the greatest teams of all time. While we're not the 96 Bulls, we are far greater than that. And just as Nick Nemeth or Matt Hardy, our accomplishments speak for themselves. Then they give Eddie Edwards the microphone, saying Alicia finally realized her true potential, becoming champion herself, and on her way to becoming the greatest knockout of all time. They then give Alicia Edwards the mic, saying, I know how you boys like to celebrate, while us ladies, we go for more flair, so I made a video for you all. Shows highlights of the System, winning matches or so, but before he can get to the end, Broken Matt Hardy interrupts, congratulating the System on their win at Under Siege, but saying the war is far from over, and I'm gunning for the World Heavyweight title. And I've learned some lessons at Under Siege. I understand the System better. I can tell you, this isn't over. This is just the beginning. And you obviously have your triumphs. But can I see your Super Bowl ring? That's to Moose. Oof. That's a rough one. Then Alicia tries to make fun of Matt Hardy's eccentric accent, in which Matt retorts, Silence, Snow Witch. That one got me. He then continues, you better not get on Queen Rebecca's bad side. And then Moose shows, well, there's obviously 4 of us here and only 1 of you. Matt Hardy retorts, alright, I don't like your odds. As he brings up the chair, starts swinging at people. But then Eddie Edwards breaks it up with an axe handle. System starts a beatdown on Matt Hardy. But who comes out to make the save is very interesting, as it's Ryan Nemeth, aka Nick Nemeth's brother. In which that's a very interesting little pairing. So, yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see what Matt Hardy has in store for the system, and how Ryan Nemeth is going to be included. Next up, we got an interview from the ABC, pretty much denying that they're breaking up, saying don't read stuff on the internet. We're obviously on the same page. We put our tag team title rematch on hold because we would like to be X Division champion. Now, if someone only had my back, I would be. Then Santino comes in, pretty much says, look, you guys got to act like a tag team, and you're going to teach these guys the alphabet. So then ABC walk off. The system kind of shuffle in, saying, oh, this is an unsafe work environment. What is Matt Hardy doing? This is supposed to be our night. And Santino reveals, alright, you want me to do something about Matt Hardy? Sure. But first, I got some more pieces to get involved in this, so stay tuned. Santino walks off. System are kind of left there complaining. We'll get to that big announcement a little later. But first, we got some tag team action players. As First Class, that's AJ Francis and Rich Swann. Great idea for a tag team. Take on Zach Clayton and Ray Jazz of the FBI. And this match, while a little shorter than I would have liked, was very, very entertaining. Especially with AJ Francis, overpowering people. But then when Rich Swann would tag in, the FBI would take advantage. To win the match, Francis hits a big old choke slam into a Swann frog splash for the win for First Class. Definitely going to see if First Class gets a tag team title shot. But we'll see. We then see Santino Marella and Jake Something. They're talking about Jake Something wanting an X Division title shot. The Rascals walked in saying, look, Trey got taken out on Under Siege. That is why he wasn't with us. We want action. So Santino makes the Rascals versus Jake Something and Cody Deaner. Now, I'll tell you why this is interesting in a little bit. So then Cody Deaner rolls up, pretty much saying, I got a pretty good idea for this match. Stay tuned. Then we see Khan and Steph DeLander. They're sitting backstage. Alan Angels rolls in, starts the sound check segment, saying Khan brought his girlfriend here. Steph DeLander reminds him, yeah, I'm not with Khan. I'm with something else. Then Alan Angel says, oh, you broke up with Zack Ryder? What? Zack Ryder being named on TNA? That's wild. Steph DeLander then asks Khan, hey, you guys are friends? Khan answers, no, this guy is starting to annoy me. I'm out of here. Alan Angels tries to keep Khan in, including via security. And then Khan just tosses security, and then eventually Alan Angels out of screen. Steph DeLander asks, we done here? Khan answers, yeah. So, very interesting segment. I really don't want to see an Angels versus Khan feud. I'd like to see Angels focus on the X Division, because I think he fits there perfectly. Next up, we got more tag team action players, as the Rascals, that's Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel, take on Jake Something and Cody Deaner. Now, why this is interesting is because they teamed up before when Jake Something was just called Cousin Jake, and he teamed up with Cody Deaner. They were the Deaners. So, definitely not their first foray into the tag division. And this match, before the match gets started, Cody Deaner gets on the microphone saying, look, I just talked to Santino, want to really spice up this matchup. Here are choices, either a standard singles match or a no count out Albany Tornado tag match. Now obviously it's not the Rascals' choice, it's not our choice, it's the people's choice. And of course they root for the Albany Tornado tag, meaning no tags, and it's just pure chaos, and that's what it was. With Jake Something running bit roughshod over the Rascals for a bit. Rascals eventually take out Jake Something, deal with Deaner for a little while, but he's resilient, he keeps kicking out. Eventually, Jake Something gets back in, hits the low cost body. Jake Something with, Deaner with the dive to the outside. Jake going for a powerbomb, but Trey has the old spray can, sprays it right into the eyes of Jake Something. Rascals with a bunch of super kicks. Spine buster into the double stomp for the win for the Rascals. So, Rascals going a bit back in their ways, but it definitely fits their character. And as the Rascals are celebrating on the ramp, from the back is Steve Maclin, who attacks the Rascals, hitting a KIA on Zach Wentz. Then we see Maclin walk in the back. He gets talked to by an interviewer, saying why they walked out on me twice, so I took them out twice. This brings in Frankie Kazarian, who says, oh, that's why you were distracted. So from now on, you're on your own. Good luck. Maclin then retorts, luck is for soldiers. I don't need luck. Then we get a very interesting sit-down interview with Mike Santana, saying he's on top of the world. He's been looking forward to this comeback for a while now to a place I call home. I came in like a shotgun round. When I first started with Ortiz, with Conan as our mentor, that meant a lot. And our first experience on TV was Sink or Swim, and we swam. And in 5 years, so much has happened. I lost my dad in 2020. Lost him, crushed my soul. Then the pandemic happened. Things had changed. We all had to deal with this, or it's done. And I needed to save my own life. So it cuts there, so that's going to continue. Then we get an Ash by Elegance interview. In ring by a new interviewer. I'm not sure who it is. Calling this interview more of an interrogation. With the concierge asking if he needs to call the lawyers. Saying elegance is more of a lifestyle choice. You live under a rock. There are no people worse than people from New Jersey. This is a classless interview. I'm done. So then the interview starts playing highlights from matches from a couple of, including one where she brings out the big brass knucks. With the concierge asking, oh, where did you get that footage? And why I'm a little upset, The referee stole my jewelry. I beat Xia Brookside already. So then out comes Xia Brookside saying, how about next week we have a rematch for your little jewelry? What do you say? And then Ash is like, fine. Like a disappointed little toddler. That's funny. We then see some footage of Joe Hendry talking on UK radio channel, which that's also talking about how his song got to number 6 on the charts in the UK. That's definitely very funny. And now we go to our Santino Marella big announcement, as it's the Champions Challenge match, as we have all 8 champions in a tag team match against TNA All-Stars. That's Matt Hardy, Ryan Nemeth, Spitfire, and I forget who else. So, that match is going to be a cluster. I can't wait to cover it. Next up, we got the new and improved Jonathan Gresham taking on someone Mr. Gresham is actually kind of familiar with, as it's Will Ferrara, another Ring of Honor alum. And this match did start out as Gresham dominating a bit, but then Will Ferrara got back into it for a little while. Eventually, Gresham gets back into control, smashes Will Ferrara's knee, gets him into an octopus hold, then spits ink into his hand, hits the iron claw with it into a pinning situation for the victory for Jonathan Gresham. Definitely a short match, but I'm okay with that. Hopefully we're building up to something with Gresham. Now, next is something kind of interesting. We see footage of, someone driving along a very beautiful road. Turns out it's Gail Kim, who arrives at some very weird estate. She opens the door. Then we see Giselle Shaw. She's meditating a little bit. Then Gail Kim comes in, pretty much says, we gotta talk. And Shaw just opens her eyes. And that's the end of that. That was so good. That was a nice little cinematic moment. I'm definitely hoping for more from that. Because I definitely missed Giselle Shaw. She's a very talented worker. And now we get to our main event, as it's the ABC taking on Speedball Mountain, where the winning team next week faces each other for a shot at the X Division title. We start off with Mustafa Ali on commentary, and this match, oh boy, this match absolutely freaking ruled. It was a whole lot of fun to watch. Everyone worked really, really well together. At one point, we had Trent go for the Birmingham Hammer, only for it to get blocked. Chris Bay trying for the Art of Finesse, but that gets blocked as well. Mike Bailey with the Tornado Kick. Trent Seven with the Birmingham Hammer. At one point, you see Ace Austin on the outside jawing a little bit with Ali. Chris Bay attempts the Art of Finesse again. That gets blocked. Birmingham Hammer by Trent Seven. Ultima Weapon by Speedball Mike Bailey. So your winners, Speedball Mountain. And next week, they have each other. So that match is going to be interesting. This match absolutely freaking ruled. If you haven't seen it yet, go look it up. It was fantastic. Anyway, that is it for my recap for this week. I hope you all enjoyed. Potentially not covering Raw for tonight, as I am probably going to be watching Game 5 for the Rangers. So I'll probably cover everything else this week. So stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for predictions for King and Queen of the Ring. WWE's next big show. So until then, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.